If you look at, the absolute greatest achievements in human history, whether it's um, a groundbreaking piece of technology or a masterpiece of art or even a massive cultural movement, there is this statistical reality that we just constantly deliberately ignore.
Oh, totally. It's like a complete blind spot.
Right. And that reality is that 99% of the work required to make those things happen was completely hidden from you.
Yeah, it's a blind spot in our collective psychology, really. We're so conditioned to only look at the stage, right? Like we never look at the rehearsals happening in the dark.
Exactly. Which sets up a very dangerous trap for anyone trying to build something of their own. So, welcome to today's deep dive. Now, usually we sit down with a massive stack of source material for you, research papers, long form articles, thick
Cue
biographies.
the heavy stuff.
Right, the heavy stuff. But today is unique. We are working with a hyper concentrated source. It's literally a single excerpt from a text titled The Invisible Architecture of Success.
And honestly, the brevity here is the whole point.
Hmm.
By stripping away all the endless anecdotes and case studies you usually find in success literature, this text forces us to just look at the stark, unfiltered mechanics of achievement.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally just 2 lines long.
2 lines. And the mission of this deep dive is to deconstruct those two profound lines to uncover the actual fundamental machinery of how things get built. Because whether you, the listener, are building a career or maybe learning a new skill or working on a personal project, I really think this deep dive will change how you view your daily efforts.
Oh, absolutely. It completely shifts your perspective.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we even get to the quote itself, we have to look at the structural framework provided by the title, The Invisible Architecture of Success.
Right. The title alone says so much.
It really does. The word architecture is doing a massive amount of conceptual heavy lifting here. It makes me think of like a towering skyscraper downtown.
Okay.
Everyone marvels at the gleaming glass facade catching the sunlight right. But absolutely no one walking by stops to think about the massive subterranean steel and concrete foundation that makes the building possible.
Nobody at all.
So my question is, does the word architecture suggest that success requires a deliberate blueprint rather than just relying on, blind, chaotic effort?
Well, what's fascinating here is how that specific word, architecture, it completely shifts the burden of success from chance to design. Because we often talk about success using language that implies randomness, right?
Like getting lucky.
Exactly. We talk about getting a lucky break or someone striking gold as if achievement is just a lottery ticket you happen to scratch off.
Right. Or we go to the exact opposite extreme and talk about hustle.
Oh, the hustle culture, yes.
Yeah, this idea that if you just run fast enough and sweat enough, things will magically work out. But, hustle is just movement. Architecture implies something entirely different. Architecture requires you to understand load-bearing walls. It requires actual blueprints.
Precisely. Architecture is engineered stability. It demands that you calculate where the stress points are going to be before you ever even pick up a hammer.
Wow, yeah. Before you pick up a hammer.
Right. And when the text pairs the word invisible with architecture, it is pointing out a really harsh reality about human nature. Because our brains are, they're hardwired to crave immediate visible progress.
We want to see the results right away.
Exactly. We want to put up the drywall and paint the house because that feels like we're doing something real. Pouring concrete into a hole in the ground doesn't look like a house. It just looks like a muddy mess.
It looks like a muddy mess, and it takes forever. But understanding that elevates your daily effort from mere labor to an act of intentional design. Because if you are just blindly working without an architectural plan, a strong wind is going to knock the whole thing down.
Right, it'll just collapse.
You might be busy, but you aren't building anything durable. The title is telling us that the most vital components of your achievement are not designed to be seen, they are designed to support weight.
And that concept right there of supporting weight is the perfect entry point into the actual text of the excerpt. So the first line simply reads, "The grind nobody sees."
Let's look at the mechanics of that word, grind. It's a very physical, kind of abrasive word.
Yeah, it intentionally denotes friction. Like
What?
the literal definition involves two stones rubbing against each other to slowly, painstakingly crush something down or sharpen an edge.
Right.
So the text is establishing that the foundation of any success is inherently unglamorous. It is repetitive labor. It is extremely tedious. Go back to your skyscraper analogy. The grind is the physical act of pouring that concrete down in the dark.
It is, but I actually want to challenge the premise of this a bit.
Okay, go for it.
Specifically, the absolute nature of the phrase, nobody sees, because
Yeah.
human beings are intensely social creatures, right?
Yeah,
We have a profound neurological need for external validation.
we do, yeah.
When we do something difficult, we want someone to tell us we're doing a good job. So does the grind actually have to be invisible? I mean, we're currently living in an era defined by the building in public movement.
Oh, sure. Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that.
Exactly. People are constantly sharing their messy, rough drafts, live streaming their coding sessions, and posting their daily struggles online. Doesn't that public feedback loop actually help sustain the effort?
See, that is the core tension of modern work.
Hmm.
But we really have to look at how introducing an audience changes the underlying psychology of the builder.
Okay, how so?
Well, when you are truly in the nobody sees phase, your motivation has to be entirely intrinsic. You are solving the problem simply because the problem needs to be solved.
Right.
But the moment you introduce an audience, even an audience of supportive peers, you introduce extrinsic motivation. The whole feedback loop changes.
Because you start getting dopamine from the likes and the comments rather than from the actual completion of the work itself.
Exactly. Your brain receives a neurochemical reward for performing the work, which can actually, ironically, decrease your drive to finish the work.
Oh, wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source is highlighting that the isolation of the grind acts as a structural filter.
Hmm.
If your motivation is heavily tethered to being observed and validated, you are incredibly vulnerable.
Vulnerable to what, exactly?
Well, what happens when the algorithm changes? Or what happens when the audience just gets bored and looks away?
Oh, I see. If you need the applause to pour the concrete stops flowing the second the theater empties out.
Yes. And that's exactly why the text insists on the invisibility. The nobody sees element isn't just some unfortunate side effect of the grind. It is the testing ground for your architecture.
It tests if it's real.
Right. It tests whether you are building a facade just for public consumption or a structure with genuine integrity. When nobody is watching, you are forced to confront your own standards.
You can't fake it.
No, you iterate, you fail, and you fix things
Right.
without the pressure of public perception warping your decision-making process.
You know, that reframes the silence of a lonely project entirely. The silence isn't a punishment, it's a laboratory.
A laboratory, yes. I love that.
It's the only environment sterile enough to figure out if the blueprint actually works. You are holding yourself to a standard that exists independent of any supervisor or audience, which honestly is a terrifying level of accountability for most people.
It is deeply uncomfortable, which is why most people try to skip the invisible architecture phase entirely and jump straight to the visible results. But the text establishes a rigid causality between these two phases.
Which brings us perfectly to the second and final line of the excerpt. Let's look at the whole quote together. The grind nobody sees creates the success everyone notices.
Yeah, the whiplash between the hidden reality of the first line and the public spectacle of the second line is stark, and it's meant to jolt the reader.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. I want to zero in on the verb that serves as the bridge between the invisible and the visible. The word creates.
It's a very specific choice.
It is. The text does not say the unseen grind leads to success. It doesn't say it contributes to it or, sets the stage for it. It states definitively that the grind creates it.
Right.
That is an absolute causal link. It leaves absolutely zero room for luck or innate talent as the primary driver of the outcome.
It removes the mystery from the equation entirely.
Yeah.
It treats success not as some mystical occurrence, but literally as a manufactured product.
Okay, think about watching a master magician perform on stage. The theater goes dark, the spotlight hits, and the audience witnesses a mind-bending illusion, like a coin vanishes and appears on the other side of the room.
Classic trick.
Right.
Yeah.
And the audience only experiences the success, the final polished spectacle, and to them it looks like actual magic. But the magician knows the truth. They know they spent 4,000 hours locked in a room, dropping that same coin in front of a mirror until their knuckles ached.
Yeah, the unseen grind.
Exactly. The dropping of the coin didn't just help the illusion. That private, unseen friction literally created the muscle memory that makes the public moment possible.
This raises an important question about our collective cognitive biases, honestly. Because society only ever sits in the audience.
We only see the spotlight.
Exactly. We only ever see the magician under the spotlight. The text points out that everyone notices the success, but because they only notice the final outcome, They are inherently blind to the process that built it.
Which is exactly where the myth of the overnight success comes from, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. The overnight success is basically a cognitive shortcut our brains take. In psychology, there is a concept called the availability heuristic.
Okay, availability heuristic. What does that mean in this context?
Well, it means our brains make judgments based only on the information that is immediately available to us. Since the grind is, by definition, invisible, our brains just don't factor it into the equation.
Oh, so we just skip that part of the math?
Right. We see someone suddenly launch a massive company or publish a brilliant novel or execute a flawless performance, and because we didn't see the 10 years of failure preceding it, our brain just assumes it happened spontaneously.
It's a mechanism for saving mental energy, I guess. It is
Yeah.
so much easier to look at a masterpiece and say, wow, they are just a pure genius, than it is to mentally calculate the thousands of hours of agonizing trial and error that went into it.
Much easier.
But, labeling someone a natural genius is actually a very defensive reaction, isn't it?
Oh, it is entirely defensive. Because if we categorize someone's achievement as the result of innate talent or sudden luck, it absolves us of our own responsibility.
Oh, wow.
If they have a magical gift, then I don't have to feel bad about not achieving the same thing, right?
Right.
Because I simply wasn't given the gift.
It's an out.
Exactly. But if their success was strictly created by the grind nobody sees, then my lack of success might simply be a lack of grind. And that is a very uncomfortable truth to sit with.
It forces you to look at your own blueprint. And the danger of this cognitive bias is that it totally warps our own expectations.
Now so.
Well, when you are deep in the trenches of your own invisible architecture, when you are failing and pivoting and exhausted, you look around at the success everyone notices on your phone or in your industry, and you feel like you are doing something fundamentally wrong.
Oh, totally. Imposter syndrome creeps in.
Right. You feel broken because your process feels so much messier than their finished product looks.
But you're making an irrational comparison there. You're comparing your subterranean concrete pouring to their finished sunlit glass facade.
Apples and oranges.
Exactly. The text is urging us to recognize that these are not two different realities. They are the exact same architecture, just viewed from two completely different points in time. The public spectacle is entirely manufactured by the private tedium.
And we really have to acknowledge how the word everyone in that second line hits differently today than it might have, say, 50 years ago.
Oh, for sure. Technology changed everything.
Right, creates the success everyone notices. We live in a hyper-connected environment where we are bombarded by finished products constantly. We are drowning in the success everyone notices. Everyone's highlight reel is just blasted onto our screens 24/7.
The visibility of success has been exponentially amplified by modern technology.
Yeah.
We literally see the final achievements of thousands of people every single day.
Yeah.
But the visibility of the grind remains exactly the same. Zero.
Zero. Because nobody is going viral for staring blankly at a spreadsheet for 6 hours trying to find a formatting error, right?
No.
Definitely not. Nobody gets 1,000,000 views for the 400th time they play a piano scale poorly in an empty practice room. The ratio of visible success to visible struggle is completely distorted.
Which is why understanding this text is so vital for maintaining your own psychological endurance.
Because if you don't...
If you don't understand that the invisible architecture is a required phase of the engineering, the modern world will convince you to quit. You will assume that because your work is hard and unseen, it must be flawed.
Man, that is so true. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you navigate your own goals this week? If we synthesize the core mechanics of the invisible architecture of success, it basically strips achievement down to a brutal, mathematically honest equation.
It really does.
Hidden, repetitive, unglamorous labor is the direct and only engineer of visible public triumph. The friction doesn't just precede the success, it manufactures it.
And practically speaking, the application of this concept should be profoundly reassuring.
Reassuring, how so?
Well, if you are currently working on something like learning a language, building a business, trying to pivot your career, and you feel frustrated that your intense effort is completely unappreciated or invisible to your peers, you need to reframe that frustration.
Don't let it get you down.
Right, you shouldn't be discouraged. That invisibility is not a symptom of failure. It is the required, sterile environment for building a strong foundation. You are simply in the nobody sees phase of constructing your own architecture.
It's actual proof that you are doing the work. Because if everybody is constantly noticing what you're doing and applauding your every move right from the start, There is a very good chance you're just playing with the decorative pillows instead of framing the house.
Exactly. You have to embrace the solitude of the blueprint.
Yeah.
Every moment of unseen friction you experience today is a literal deposit into the structural integrity of what will eventually become visible.
A structural deposit. I like that.
And you have to protect that invisible phase. Don't rush to show off a half-poured foundation just to get a quick hit of validation.
Wait, let the concrete cure.
Let the concrete cure in the dark. Trust the causality of the equation.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. Something for you to really mull over as you get back to your own projects. We've spent this time breaking down how the text states the unseen grind creates the success everyone notices.
Right, we understand the mechanism now.
We do. But think about this. If that invisible grind is the true architecture, if it is the psychological steel and concrete holding everything up, is that hidden process actually more durable, more valuable, and more structurally sound than the fleeting, fragile moment of public notice?
Oh, it's a fascinating perspective.
Right, because when society finally looks at the finished skyscraper and claps, the applause fades in seconds. But the foundation remains. Is the true value found in the moment everyone notices, or is the actual enduring value found in the messy, glorious transformation you underwent while nobody was watching? Something for you to think about as you get back to your own grind.